cool, we put it in, you get it when you get it.
Yeah.
Like, so that does give us, it's like, hey, when the dining room it's like everything else kind of stops for a second.
Yeah.
But it can't stop for too long.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like it's not like, hey, it stops and like you fuck off. It's like it stops for this precedent, but it means like be ahead best you can.
And the other stuff, yeah, exactly.
Because
you got to come back on it.
And sometimes, you know, the menu grows. Like over the month, the first week, you're going through learning the menu and like how it works through service. The second week, you've gotten better. So once you get better, you learn how to have your own tricks. And the cooks learn how to have their own tricks. And we talk to them about things we notice them doing. We notice they didn't do. We give them tips. They make their own. You know, everybody kind of collabs on that, and then they make some changes. The third week is like it's hitting on all cylinders. The fourth week, everybody's kind of like, when's the next menu, chef?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like for me, I'm on the. To be honest with you, I wish I could do. I wish I had the creative mindset to make a new menu every 4 days.
Yeah.
But I don't. I just get bored quickly.
Yeah.
Like once you've done, you know, and we always try to make the same thing better. Like I've been cooking bird on frame and cod, black cod and fish and whatever fish, like over and over and over again every month. Meats, aged meats, not aged meats, cured meats, cured fish, smoked thing, like always trying to figure out how to cook it the best possible way, but also the least possible way.
Gotcha.
And like getting it down to how far do I need to cook this piece of fish that it literally can rest long enough to get plated and go to the table where it's peaking.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's the point where it's like I'm pulling it off the coals like under.
Yeah.
But by the time it gets plated and gets to the table, it's there.
Like perfect.
And we're trying that at all times.
Yeah.
And the fish is always different too. Like we get black cod a lot. I love that fish. It's always different. It's not always the same fat content.
Watery,
exactly. Exactly. You know, you're from California, so you know y'all use a lot. That's where I got it from.
Yeah.
It cooks differently all the time, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be cooked that far. Especially when it's aged for a while.
Exactly.
You know, and it just, you know, just never getting to a point where we feel like anything, like we never treat anything like this is the way you do it and then stop. And then that's the way you do it for the next couple of years. It's like, this is the way we do it, but we're still thinking, can we do it a little bit better? Can we push it a little bit further? Like we're doing a squab in the hay, like chicken in the hay. And we got it to a point where it was like, we're pulling it out of the oven in the hay, like raw almost, but because we knew that the sustained like steaming and everything going on brought it to that perfect point to where when you sliced it, the juice was like there. Yeah. Versus if you let it go for like another minute or two, it just wasn't the same. Like by the time the guests got it, and so we just keep pushing things like that. You know, there's never just this. When I first came up cooking, it was like. You got taught this is how you cook duck, this is how you cook duck, and then that's it. Yeah, there's never like a push. And for us, throughout the entire month, we always keep pushing. And I learned something more about every protein that I do every month, even 3 years later. Yeah, and then I just keep progressing that. You know, and he does that with the sauces and the ferments and the. You know, also helping me with the meats and the aging and things like that. It would just never stop just trying to take it to that next level that we can.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, even our baking, our bread course, it's like we do this Levant cornbread. Yeah. And it was great always, you know, when we did it. But then we started realizing, all right, if we make it to order, then it's better. Yeah. You know, so then we would make it to order. But then we realized that if the batter sat, then it wasn't as good at the end for the last round as it was the beginning. So then we're like, all right, well, let's weigh out the dry, let's weigh out the wet, let's pull out the butter separate because that needs to be melted to order because it'll solidify in there. So now it's literally like they're timing it out to where you're melting the butter to go with the dry and the wet a la minute to then make this. So it's like maximum. And with tasting menu, you can do it. And it was like the original point that got us on this is that, you know, sure, accolades feel good, but for us, the biggest thing they are is basically show our team that being competitive with yourself about these details do get noticed. Like there's no reason that this restaurant on this block should be noticed the way it's been noticed. And the only thing that I could say is the reason for that is, well, sure, there's a lot of luck and things like that, but it's also too just having a team that buys in, us buying into the fact that if we just keep pushing ourselves as hard as we can possibly push ourselves, it's gonna work out somehow. And it's kind of humbling to see how it has worked out.
That's kind of my same sentiments for this podcast.
Absolutely.
I've seen it happen. Like in the beginning of my career, it was a lot of times prepping because of the covers. Like your prep depends on the covers. Here, our prep depends on can we make it as good as we can make it, period. So, you know, we've done like a pie or a clafoutis where we're like making the dough and baking it a la minute, you know, like, and if that means making it on the second course and it's done by the end, then we figure that out. But there's no world where we're baking everything before service and then reheating it. Like that's never a world for that because it's easier.
Yeah,
like easiness and you know, just for lack of effort is never a thing for here. It's whatever it takes to get that done to make it the best. That's what we do, and it and then our planning starts from there.
Heard that.
You know, like then it becomes okay. Well, then how can I do this? If curing the fish an hour before service means that it's the best, then we're curing the fish an hour before service, putting it under a fan, filleting it, skinning it, doing it for a crudo. If you know, putting it in a box for a few days and then putting it under a fan for a few hours before service to get the skin crisp because we're cooking it, that's it. If we're making the dough, making the crust, making the actual dessert 2 hours before or an hour before service, or an hour before they get it, then that's what we're doing. Like, you know, like whatever we got to do to make sure that it's the best we can do, then we're going to do that. And if we can't, you know, if we can't do the clafoutis or the pie like that, then we just change the dessert.
Yeah.
It's just not a point where we're going to say, well, we're going to make the pie hours before service and then reheat it. Like, because it's just not the same. It's never the same thing with bread. Like, there's never a point where you can get bread right out the oven that it's the same as 8 hours later. Even 8 hours later is still good, but it's not the same. Yeah. And we try always to push that point, you know. And that's just, you know, the small place like this, our bottom line is smaller. Our payroll is smaller.
Because of the number of people.
Because of the number, you know.
Yeah, we pay our people very well, but there's just a smaller team.
Yeah.
Well, we
just make it to where we make it to where the quality has to be there, and that's the focus. And we try to make everything work around that at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's good to know for every chef out there listening that it's not all about the money.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you base things off of that, you will have much more success in the future than if you were just like, I'm in this for the money.
Oh, sure.
You know, when you think of dishes in that way rather than, does this monetarily make sense? The food cost on this is 40%. Yeah, but who the fuck cares? It's cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's it, you know.
There's not enough money, even if one of us owned this place, it would, to me, if I own this place 100% by myself, it wouldn't be as good. So there is some level of, you have to, you know, you have to just go with things. Like you can't have where you own the place solely and the food is absolutely as great as it can be if you also have two badass partners.
Yeah.
So at the same time, there's no reason to cut corners either because we're not going to get rich off this place.
Yeah.
So it's better for us to make this place the best we can and just open more places because we're not going to ever get rich off this one place. It's better to have this one place be badass and open other places, and then we'll get our money and our, you know, security that way.
Exactly.
But never off of one place are you going to have one sole owner that is like printing money and making the best food. It's just not possible for that. Yeah. Like there's got to be unless you just inherited a bunch of money and it don't matter. But other than that, like there's no other way. It's just not. This is not.
Well, heart and soul, you can't monetize that.
No.
And trying to is failure.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And I'm sure that we know a lot of restaurants that have opened and don't last very long, and that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Because investors get in, and that's another thing. You guys did this very grassroots with your money. You got the $80,000, but I don't think that you had much input from the guy putting money in here. It was I want it to be like this.
I mean, all of our investors were like $5,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of them want their money back, and they will get their money back and make more. But none of them were expecting to. They were like, I don't want to lose my money, but their motivation was more to be a part of seeing something grow.
Got you.
Again,
a lot different than when one person gives you $80,000.
Yeah,
exactly. In their mind, they're like, "Hey, and you made, something."
And I'd like you to have this on the menu too.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, what the fuck does that mean?
It's funny because August was all about saying yes, and this place is all about saying no.
We're going to give you what we think you need because we've eaten everywhere and done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's worked out. Like, I'm not trying to say, I know everything. I'm just trying to say that in terms of eating food and dining, I know a lot.
You know what you're talking about,
and Drew knows a lot.
I don't go into the dentist's office and tell, hey, I want you to clean my tooth this way. Because I think it works a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know shit about that, And people that don't know shit about dining or cooking or haven't put in the time should not be commenting on how we do our thing.
They're like, what if I don't like mushrooms? It's like, well, then don't eat the mushroom course.
I was talking to Serene, and it's like, it's not that it's expensive, it's that it's out of your budget.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we're living in a time now where we as chefs can actually make money, which is nice.
Yes.
And it's not just the powers that be making money, whether it's the Kellers, the John George, and the Danielles. I feel like the table has opened up. The gates have fucking flooded open with COVID and just the way we're moving.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see what the future of this industry is, and I
agree.
Be grateful enough to you guys for changing the game and changing the face of what is fine dining, what is a restaurant,
Well, we're grateful to the people that come, but also the trailblazers way ahead of us. So it's...
My favorite was, in terms of what we do and kind of thing, was Chateaubriand with Naki Aspartarte. That place is so relaxed, low-key, casual, and the food is
sick,
awesome.
Spectacular.
Yeah, it's just fucking awesome, and it's about the food, the drink, and the service.
Yeah,
fuck the tablecloths, all the chandeliers, all the They still have nice glassware and all this stuff, but none of that stuff matters that much.
It doesn't matter. It matters to the old guard of people.
Care.
I was at a dinner recently, and some guy made a snark remark about dress code. Because basically, I was at a private club. And they were talking about the fact that they want to open a Michelin-style level restaurant at the club because these people pay a ridiculous amount of money, but then they still go eat downtown at those restaurants.
Yeah.
And then the GM was basically saying, why can't we have a Michelin-star level restaurant here at the club?
Yes.
And then one of the guys remarks, oh, yeah, that'd be nice, except if it has a dress code, I'll go. Mainly referring to me because I came to do a podcast with the guy, the chef there, and I didn't have a dress shirt, so I went to JCPenney real quick. I got a black button-down shirt, and these people were all decked out in jackets and shit, and it was definitely a remark towards me, because I'm the only one like me at the table, and I'm just like, this guy cares more about a dress code than what the food tastes like.
That's crazy.
And that is fucking horrible. So just like I've been saying to everybody else, we're about 10, 20 years till they all die, and then,
Look, there's a lot of people lot of people out there that walk around in tennis shoes, shorts, and drive Lamborghinis. It's like you don't have to have a business suit.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people out there that, that
change the
that
game.
have money that don't look like they have. It's like
there's
a lot of people. When I lived in San Francisco, that opened my mind up to that because I remember going to Cezanne. It was just like everyone there had tattoos. Everyone there was this type of way, and they didn't seem to be a way that I saw in Europe and things like that were fine dining. But they knew a lot more or as much as anybody else that did, and it just didn't matter, and it's just more of a relaxed area.
Exactly.
When you go to New York, it's a little bit more suit and tie,